Hey guys, welcome back to the Prehistoric Life Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Crawford, and today we have another guest on. Well, we have a reoccurring guest. Would you like to, reintroduce yourself?
Sure. Hey everyone, my name is Juan Pablo Piña. I am the creator and host of the Paleontology Author account on Instagram, and also the Substack newsletter that I've been promoting, and also the author of Primordial, A Biology of Ancient Triumphs and Tragedies.
Somewhere, either the top corner with the little eye or after the video, I'll probably link that original interview for those of you who are interested. But you're here because you want to announce something.
Oh, yeah. Okay, this is a project that truthfully has been in development almost like, I want to say like the earliest like vague concepts would be like 2020. I think it was like when I first thought about humans, dinosaurs, same place and time. I think the first thing that sparked that idea was the Primitive War novels, or some of the art of it, by Ethan Pettis. And then after several years, it's evolved into what it is today, and what we're going to be talking about: Prey for the Wicked.
Yeah. That's already a solid title, just coming right off the back. Would you like to talk about some, like, the idea of it, what the general theme, time period, thing like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Prey for the Wicked is a coming of age story. It's going to be a series of multiple books. I don't want to say how many yet, because it's still, being produced, it's still being worked on. I've just got a few stuff that I've got down packed. It's a coming of age story, very allegorical to what young men face in their life as they grow up. So things like temptation, brotherhood, the importance of father figures. There's a lot of that in there. But the setting, that was what originally got me hooked onto the idea, is a like fantasy world, very like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones-ish, but with prehistoric animals in it. So if you've ever heard of David James Armsby's animated series Soria, which was a huge influence for a long time, that's kind of one of the main comparisons I'd give.
So what kind of events will we see?
Well, there's gonna be a lot of different scenes,
of course.
There's gonna be plenty of battles. So, and yes, you will get to see stuff like T-Rexes at the head of an army, but there will also be stuff like I've talked about this with one of my friends. He's a huge history nerd. We talked about like how we could implement prehistoric animals into a medieval world, and not just in a military sense, but also what would be good pack animals. Like, stuff is going to be kind of played off as the norm, but sometimes as a reader, I think you're going to be like, wait, what? Like, you're going to have a lot of fun with this setting, but you'll also be seeing set places that are kind of dark, like very scary settings. I watched a lot of horror media to try and prep for this, because I think overcoming fear is one of the main themes of the series. And thus I feel I should probably get over it to be able to probably convey it to the characters. But yeah, you'll see stuff like snowy forests, savannas, deserts. You'll have battle scenes. You have more intimate connections of like moments of character development where you get to learn more about them. Sort of a blend. I guess the main comparison I'd give is sort of Game of Thrones stuff. Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. What kind of creatures can we expect to see?
Boy. Okay, so the setting isn't really based in one set time period. It's, if you've ever seen the show Primal, like you get this anachronistic like melding of like all of Earth's
everything
periods. Yeah. So you've got dinosaurs, Cenozoic mammals. They're all a bit stylized. They're not exactly paleo accurate. I set myself a rule that I wanted paleo accuracy to at least be my minimum standard. Like they should look like animals, act like animals. But outside of that, I kind of allowed myself to do more like grungy or raunchy versions of, say, like what you see in Prehistoric Planet. So overall, you can kind of expect an aesthetic kind of like the 2005 King Kong, but there will also be some fictional creatures like dragons, several like adaptations of cryptids like chupacabras, giant spiders, sort of just this whole crazy mega ecosystem of animals plus humans who have to like navigate this insane world.
Yeah. What real world inspirations have you drawn from
for this? For the setting and the world building, or for the story itself?
All of it, just in general. What are the major inspirations there?
Overall, for the story itself, I think my main inspiration would be a lot of my own experiences, especially like the importance that I found in like having my friends, like the small tight-knit group of brothers, the importance of mentors and father figures, especially my dad and the moderator of the club that I'm in, especially. And for the setting itself, I was kind of just like thinking, what if humans plus dinosaurs in the same world? Specifically, I guess the Tales of Chimera series by Keenan Taylor. Like I said, Primal, the animated series Soria, and a lot more human history than I honestly expected. So you'll see influences from like dynastic China, feudal Japan, but also a lot of allegories to stuff in more Western history. So a lot of Roman influences, Byzantine, especially you see. So I kind of have my own version. I don't want to spoil it too much because I think it's honestly one of the coolest pieces of world building. Kind of a split between the Western and Eastern Roman Empire. So if you're a history buff and you also love blending that with like dinosaurs, I honestly hope that you're gonna love this.
And I mean, I guess one of the questions is there with history. This is a very weird way of asking this, but is it just like a reskin of history but with dinosaurs, or is it just how dinosaurs would have altered history, kind of as an idea?
It's a bit of both. That second one, I think, if you're looking for that, then I would definitely recommend the Extinction series by Isaac Wilson, or you may know him as the Vividan on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Very good. I read the first book. I did an interview with him. Absolutely awesome. The world building is sick. But this is kind of just a reskin of history, but with dinosaurs. But it's also just given like a different name for the sake of it being, fantasy.
Because, I mean, within my experience, if you're trying to do exact recreation of history, but with dinosaurs, you fall into the problem of like, well, like, how did this random Germanic tribe tame this or X, Y, Z?
Yeah.
And then if you're just like, well, I'm going to completely make it all up, you're like,
you kind of have to start from scratch, and it's like, ay, man.
I said the word Rome here. That doesn't exist.
Yeah. I did kind of find that struggle. There was a point where like I was laying out the world building, and I especially based it off of some of the issues, like the early historical issues that China had with its economy and the strict classism. But I also realized like this is a little too like specific to real life, because in this context, you'd also have to worry about the fact that the world is basically ruled by monsters. So things like crops, livestock become far more important than, I mean, obviously still hold importance, but still the things like goldwood or other like more, I don't want to say secular because that's not the right word, but like more like higher up treasures, if that makes sense.
What do you
like? Essentially, I found that I couldn't recreate history exactly, so I did have to sort of go in and do my own thing. But I ended up pulling a lot more from our own history than I expected that I would.
I mean, it's kind of it's a weird way of thinking. It's like pre-made world building.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. Yeah, I just pulled different bits and pieces from like, oh, this is cool, this is cool, this is cool, and then like mash them together in some like semi duct taped coherent way that's just like with squeaky wheels that's moving along.
I need this cool honorable island dwelling warrior class. Oh, you just mean Japan? It's like, oh.
Yeah.
You just make them Japanese people, and that's an option. Just make Japan.
Yeah. There was a lot, and especially surprisingly a lot of not contemporary, because I don't think that's like the right term in terms of like specifics, but a lot more recent history. So stuff from like World War II and especially the Vietnam War. Those two are big influences on like the state of the world in the story. Like technology isn't that far advanced, but like in terms of what you see, you know, what the soldiers go through, the fact that they're fighting more in the wilderness than in other areas, or especially
kind of
the like,
fighting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, or one of the more grim, dark aspects, you see like the cruelty of slavery and also the way that they treat prisoners of war. That especially was brought on by a lot of influences from history. So
that's a very interesting. Also, it is interesting to set it in a time where like, struggling with something like a tyrannosaur or a nanotyrannus is like a real threat.
Yes.
Like, one of my biggest complaints about like the primal war or primitive war is like, I get it. It's an awesome, just supposed to be action movie, but it's also just like, these raptors are literally just cannon fodder.
Yeah.
What are you doing against a machine gun, bro? Like, you're just cooked. You're done. Like, what is a T-Rex going to do against an A1 Abram? Like, nothing. It's the sad reality.
Yeah.
But in a time where it's like, oh, cool, I have like a crossbow as like the best weapon for a single person to use.
Yeah. I wanted to especially play around with the idea that like, we're not at the level of like things like gunpowder yet. Mm-hmm. You do see some like crazy technological advancements. Like if you've ever seen Kung Fu Panda 2, you know how Lord Shen just like comes straight out the gate with like the cannon. Like you kind of see that kind of thing.
The early gunpowder weapon, it's a tube with gunpowder, a metal thing, and it's welded to a shield, and they just light it and pray.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what you're doing there, but
I'm pretty sure that was an actual thing, right? The fire lance?
They just started doing. They'd take like an axe. They would hollow it out. They would put gunpowder in it. And they'd just load a thing and they'd just point it and then hope it hits something.
Yeah.
And of course, it wouldn't because it's not really an effective. They just made a very, very bad musket.
Yeah, but going back to a point that you mentioned, I don't think this is a big spoiler. No, it really isn't. This is more just like a cool world building detail. There's a theory that I honestly support called the shifting baseline. Like we think our world is weird for not having big animals, mostly because you know, the recent Pleistocene extinction. This world also has magic in it, and it's a naturally corrupting
like a supernatural element.
Yeah, and there is you start to notice there aren't as many big wild animals, especially in the areas around civilization. Except for like in the far south where like no one's been able to touch it. It's almost like Skull Island, essentially. So you see the fact that these farms are protected by like huge spiked walls, when in reality, the most dangerous animals are the small and agile ones like Nanotyrannus that would be able to, you know, sneak into your home and like be able to, I don't know, snatch you up in the middle of the night. That's a bigger threat than something like a Tyrannosaurus, which would realistically, it'd rather go after like, I don't know, a wild hadrosaur or something.
Yeah, attacking a fortress isn't worth it because it's just going to get obliterated by like a ballista or something.
Yeah.
But it's also an interesting, I mean, because bringing in like, not culture, not necessarily culture, but like folklore ideas, because that's like a real thing. If you look at like ancient Greece and Rome, when a tiger comes, not a tiger, but like a lion in like Greece and kind of that area, because they did have tigers, which is a very interesting thing. It comes into a town and attacks people. Their response was like, cool, let's like gather a hero and go kill that monster. But like the random jungle town in India gets attacked by a tiger. They kind of left it alone.
Yeah.
So it has ramifications later on. So during unfortunate events like colonization of like India, where the British kind of come from this lineage of like, okay, cool, we have a tiger, you kill it. Like, so they hear these tales of these monsters, and it's just like a big cat, and they're like, oh,
especially what I'm blanking on the name right now. The story of the tigress that like she had an injured tooth, and that's what drove her to start hunting humans.
I know what you're referring to.
Is it the Tigress of Champawat? Is that it?
Something along those. It's something like that.
Yeah. It's the Tigress of Champawat. It was that was killed by the hunter, like a famous one that was known for taking down like man eaters that would be terrorizing towns. That you see, you don't actually see that, but you see the echoes and ramifications of that. The fact that the wilds, at least like for a majority of the setting, are sort of depleted of the megafauna that you'd expect.
It's actually like an interesting cultural thing of like unification. So like the Romans and the Greeks and even India, whenever they got bigger empires, that stopped being a threat. Those ideas stopped being a threat versus a tiny town, because it's like, I am like a mighty warlord. I can just throw 30 men to this tiger and they'll just stab it to death with metal, and it's like end of the problem. But like if you're a tiny town and you got like 100 people and it kills 30 of them, you're like, that's our population, bro.
Problem.
We lost an entire bloodline.
Yeah.
So it's like folklore builds up around it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, I would genuinely be curious, like, because that's one of the things with like Alexander the Great. He gets into India and he sees elephants, and then he's like, "Ooh, okay, this is weird. This isn't anything I've seen before. I've seen like tigers and lions, but what is this 30-foot? That's an exaggeration, but like 15-foot monstrosity that stamples 15.
Yeah, it's almost like encountering an alien for them.
But like, what if elephants were still in Western Europe? Like, but then it's like, cool, let's like knock that to the extreme.
Yeah, that's kind of what I did. Yeah, especially obviously the wilds that I mentioned, the southern, more untamed part. There are people that live there. However, you do see that they've built.
It's like Siberia, though.
It's a little bit. It's
live there.
I don't want to say that it's a system of respect, because that's way too like naive and like panistic. Is that the right word? Like pantheistic.
The noble savage kind of idea.
Not really. Like they've more so just built a way of life of dealing with the dangers brought on by the wilds. Like especially, you see that they have a deeper connection to the ideas of like the spirits of the natural world, of the natural systems that shouldn't be messed with. Like, and you see a strong opposition against things like habitat destruction and poaching and all that sort of jazz, which is another one of the big themes of the book, because it's, again, very personal to me. Yeah.
And I mean, that's like especially in a group that would use guerrilla warfare so much, it is actually interesting how like adamant they would be. Again, it's kind of like, cool, our greatest advantage to you is being able to run into the jungle and know the jungle. Oh, your answer is to burn the jungle?
That's exactly what a lot of this is based on. I'm not even kidding.
Oh, you're going to just burn the jungle? Could you not burn the jungle down?
That is a huge part of their advantage. And I tried to especially pull a lot of elements from real world cultures, especially like cultures from Southern or Sub-Saharan Africa or South America, especially because I'm pulling a lot of my own heritage into this, like especially like Mexican, because that's also one of the biggest parts of the book is cultural pride, or at least pride in like who you are and where you come from. Like there's a whole like set of characters, and there's like an entire essentially like a book where that's one of the biggest like overarching themes of like being proud of where you come from, of who you are, no matter what people tell you.
And I mean, yeah, that is that is a very interesting thing. And I mean, even on top of that, if you think about how like these countries like Rome would have like a military parade or something where it's like,
yeah,
where even today, like it's the genuine arguments who the like successor of Rome truly is.
yeah.
Where you have all the Balkan, I think it's the Balkans, not the Baltic. Baltic is the northern, Balkans is
Yeah.
I always get those two flipped because they basically sound the same. But you have the Balkans where they're like all arguing amongst themselves, and you have Turkey over here, and it's like, you guys are a different empire. I don't know what you're talking about. You had the Ottoman Empire. What are we doing? You have like Italy itself and France and Germany where they're actually arguing over there were arguments and wars started over who the rightful crown of the Holy Roman Empire started. So they all have this like, it's all separate prides, but like they're all connected to one. And I think that's a very interesting thing. But I genuinely think in a world where giant beasts like that would exist, at some point you have the idea where it's like, okay, I can use these for war.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of fun scenes, and especially I don't want to drop it because it is genuinely one of the most like jaw-dropping moments I think that I've planned out thus far. But if you've seen The Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King, and you know what happens in the Battle of Pelennor Fields, imagine that but with a certain group of dinosaurs.
All I'm going to say is if the Russian Navy in the modern age is training dolphins for war, the Romans could have figured out how to domesticate sauropods.
Yeah.
I'm just. We
could have figured it out. Yeah. Plus, we're also again playing around with fantasy, so I'm letting myself like
let's have fun
loose with like. I mean, obviously, it's not just straight up put a saddle on this thing, boom. Like there's a genuine system that works with like the way the animal moves, like with the way that they think, the way that they act, the way that the riders and like pilots are trained to maneuver these animals. But I am kind of letting myself play just by the rule of cool. Like, hey, we can figure out a way that it works. Then you have like the green light, essentially.
It's like, and I've had that experience in books where you're like, cool. I like realistically, no, you're not going to domesticate tyrannosaurs, but like you're also like, that's lame. Like, I want to see some giant evil warlord roll up on a table.
You want to see like some, like you just want to have fun sometimes. I'm trying to let myself do that, but I'm also like, I almost feel like George Lucas a little bit in the way that he was trying to figure out. Yeah, like he was trying to figure out how this would make sense with like science, but also just thinking how far can we take this? How cool can we make this? That's kind of how it's been.
Yeah. It's like it is because like also it's like, okay, cool. If this place takes place between that like section between East and West in Europe and like the Middle East, kind of that area where you get some of that African culture in there, you're not going to see a lot of the large dinosaurs you would want to be able to put into a story, which is sad. You wouldn't be able to see like Suchomimus because that would be too far into Africa. You wouldn't be able to see T-Rex. That's not a thing that would exist in that part of the world. But it's also just like, I'm just going to include it because why not?
Yeah.
That's a very respectable thing because it's like, it's such a niche thing too.
Yeah, especially my solution to that was that a lot of the animals used in war aren't like, you wouldn't be able to point that out and say, oh, that's a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Like if you were to look at it, you'd be like, you'd see Orbosaurus, Zhucheng Tyrannosaurus, obviously, because these are like domestic breeds of animals. They're not like just straight wild. Also because they've been bred to be more impressive and be more easy to use.
I would love to see the take on the Roman Mastiff. Which is that's like that big to you. And it's just like, we got like 3 of them. Like, nightmare fuel.
That's not one of the things that you see a lot with like the actual animals. But I already said that I'm messing around with like some horror ideas, especially if you've like seen some of the work by Guillermo del Toro or H.P. Lovecraft. There's a lot of, I guess, what you would call body horror scenes where you see like crazy monsters and like magically mutated stuff. Because again, one of the allegories is like what an addiction to something will do to you and make you do to other people. So you see what happens when you take like naturally made beautiful creatures and then you try to essentially spit in the face of evolution and try to put your own twist on it because you think you can do better. There's quite a few terrifying monsters that I've thought of that like genuinely give me the shivers like whenever I think about them.
And that would be, I mean, that is kind of like a weird thing that we genuinely did with certain animals.
Yeah.
The Roman Mastiff is not natural. That thing should not exist.
No.
Never have existed
at all.
But
that's the thing is though, but like by comparison though, I think the best example that I would probably give is the stuff that Colossal is doing. Which I understand that's an entirely different league. That's more conservation based. It's not like they're genuinely making monsters, like they're modifying known animal genomes. Like I understand there is nuance to it. I'm just saying there's a more
semantical argument though
here. Yeah.
And obviously it would be different because it's not a lab grown entity. It would be bred through like weird selective breeding choices.
Yeah, like the war dinosaurs would be like, I guess, like the Roman war mastiffs, while a lot of these other monsters, which I don't want to drop because I want the audience to be like, what the hell is that?
The imagination.
Yeah. Those would be what I would say are like the classic like pulp sci-fi monsters that we all worried were going to be real once genetic technology like began to enter its teething stages. But something that I really, really want to emphasize is that all of this plays into the main, I guess, thesis, which is the fact that this story is an allegory for growing up, because it's essentially a book series that I wish I had, you know, as I was going into my teenage years, because life hits you fast with things that you never see coming.
Yeah, it really
does. I've written this out and I've read it over like 1,001 times, but like if so long as like one young man can feel more prepared for growing up and be able to like get lost in this world that I've created out of like just the coolest things I can imagine, I will be 1,000 times happier than I ever would be with like 100 gold-plated awards or sponsorships. Like I don't need any of that. I don't need to be the next great American novel. I want a good story, essentially.
I mean, I get that. That's a genuine. It's like if I can inspire one person, then I've succeeded more than
definitely
than 75% of Hollywood right now. So
Jesus, dude. Oh my god! Especially like there was a day like not too long ago where like 1,001 trailers dropped and like a bunch of stuff that I saw, like mostly like sequels and reboots and stuff. It's like,
hey, whatever happened to that like new idea thing that we were doing?
Yeah. Or
can we stop?
New idea that was actually made well. I'm gonna put it like that.
Can we just stop like beating dead franchises? Like I've heard about that now.
The thing is, I have this like innate reaction whenever I see a project that people call bad, and like yes, this extends to extreme examples, like even like season 8 of Game of Thrones. I try to defend some of the decisions made because like I see the idea behind it, and I can tell that like the animators, the actors, the designers, like those are the people putting in the good hard labor that you see on screen. But it's just ruined by like the bad, you know, like decisions.
Writing,
that
like there's no quality control.
It's
anymore. It's just quantity. It's quantity based. So it is like we need more quality stories.
Yeah,
especially during a time where this is something that I need to make an episode on, where I did make an episode kind of on this, but we're so divided between like people may not see it this way, but we're so divided between like wonder and science.
Yeah.
To where it's I have no idea. The movie might be out by the time this is out. I genuinely don't remember, but like the Odyssey movie, where I get it. Everybody, like, there's a lot of people where it's like, I want historically accurate, and it's like,
I 100% get that too. But it's also like there's a part of like stylization that's kind of required to get audiences to be like, I want to come see this.
There's a part of me where like I agree with you. It would be awesome to get this historically accurate story that's just beat for beat. But at the same time, I'm just like,
there's a level where you should realize.
Have you ever just considered enjoying it? Like just shut up and enjoy it. It's the same thing where this is more relevant, but like to our field. But like Jurassic Park, that's not paleo accurate. Hey, you know what else isn't paleo accurate? Lab grown monsters.
Yeah, I that's why I made it
like
yeah.
And I get like to an extent, paleo accuracy does matter, but it's also just like
100%. There's a level where it's like you can have fun. There is still room for interpretation, which is kind of what I try to make clear. Like the animals in the story, even the wild ones, like forget the domesticated ones, they're gonna be bigger, like they're gonna be a bit more like action based. Like one of the common things that you'll hear is like dinosaurs didn't roar. Well, in this story, they do. They don't like just scream, but like
it's fun.
I try to play around with it, like sort of just stylize the minimum standard set by science.
They're like cats where there's two types. It's the ones that don't like roar. It's the ones that meow or whatever.
Oh,
you do that. So it's like, some dinosaurs can roar, some can't. It's really branch.
Yeah, I kind of work again because, and this still is a problem for me because I just get so carried away in the world building because like the setting is what sucked me into the project first. Like I need to remember what works for the story. Is it the fact that this thing isn't gonna be like attacking you straight away and it's gonna be like slowly watching you, or is it the fact that it's a scene meant to convey a certain moment in a young man's life when like all seems lost, and thus you need something threatening and powerful and still awesome to look at or imagine at least. Like what works better for the story? I'm gonna pick the second option because I mean, as a storyteller, it's gonna get my goal across. I'm still gonna keep like a level of integrity whilst doing it.
It's a really weird comparison, but like the Avatar movies, there's too much world building at some points. Where like, especially the first one, where they're like, we have unobtainium, and it's like, oh, what's that? And they're like, cool, sit down, we'll tell you. It's like, come on, dude, come on. No, you missed the mark, man. You missed the mark. Don't tell me it. I want to wonder what it is.
Yeah, the irony too is that the Avatar was actually one of the big inspirations for my style of world building, where it was like creature based and nature based, not like factions or. Which I've started to use this method more like the video game developer method, where you only go with what the story needs. You don't need to outline the entire lineage of kings. You just need a few recent ones that have done notable things.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that Avatar is bad world building.
World
building, which is sometimes a good thing, and especially with a book versus a movie.
Yeah,
a book, it's like, cool, I'll just add an extra 100 pages, just talk about random world building, and you can do that. A movie, you can't. That's a different problem. It's a possibility for. I feel like unironically, Avatar would have been a better book. Unironically, I don't know how I would feel about it. A better.
I can definitely see that. I can definitely see that, especially with like how much I hear they had to cut out of the final film with the script that sounded so cool, that like delved into the world of the Na'vi and also like the psychology of what's going on through the main character's head. Like, honestly, I can see that. Plus, let's be honest, the sequels would have probably been better if that was the case. The sequel books would have been better.
This is another thing that it's such a weird concept to put in a fictional world, but like tension.
What do you mean? Like,
so like if you look at like Lord of the Rings is a beautiful example. Like you have the obvious tension. You have the like orcs, and then you have the like elves, dwarves, everybody. You have the good and the bad, the obvious good and the bad. And you're like, cool, all right. But then like the elves and the dwarves hate each other.
Yeah. Oh, you mean like between
and then the other ones, they hate each other. They're like kind of hating. There's like the weird supremacy between the Uruk-hai and and it's like, there's like actual like there's more history.
Yeah, like more tension between groups of people. You mean?
Yeah, I mean,
yes. That I especially. This is something that's a bit more personal, but I would think it's fine. There's a lot of like stigmatism and stuff going around about like minorities, and I know you're probably rolling your eyes about this as I'm saying it.
No, I mean,
like,
I get it depends.
Yeah, I tried to put like a fantasy-ish spin on it. Like one of the things that you see is that people from the far west, which is mostly civilized, again, like I said, depleted of megafauna, they see people who are from the southeast, which is a lot more wild. There's a lot more like wild animals. There's a lot more like mythology around it because they don't know it. Like again, think of the same way that early European settlers talked about what was known about the continent of Africa. There's a lot of that going on. So you see a tension between the characters as they say like, oh wait, you're from this place? I thought this. And then he's like, no, actually that's completely wrong and made up by evil people. Like,
and like even within that, there's a lot more nuance too.
Yeah.
Because like it's easy to just be like, this is a very specific example, but to just point at Christopher Columbus and be like, evil racists, and it's like,
yeah, it's
well, yes.
You have to think about the context. It was yes, but you also
he's evil. He did a lot of evil. He did a lot of evil. But it's also just like you look at the context of like the era, and it's like a lot more nuanced than him doing it because they're different people.
Yeah, you definitely see a lot of that amongst in like if throughout the entire world of Pray for the Wicked, you see the like intense dichotomy between the supposed civilized world versus the people who have learned to live with the natural world, which I'm not saying it's perfect. It is still a very dangerous and perilous place, and people have voiced opinions about it, but there is a stark difference about like what each way of life gives you and also what it takes from you.
I think one of the greatest things a storyteller can do is showing that there is a flaw within the good team.
Yes. Because
I mean, we love to paint history as it's black and white. We're like a good example going back to Christopher, where it's like, well, the like innocent Native Americans were conquered by this evil, oppressive, and it's like, well, like do we want to like bring up the Aztecs track history?
Yeah, I mean, not good people. That I'm gonna throw in my 2 cents on that. The thing is, that was developed after thousands of years of a like. There's a lot of context to why they were that way. However, I would also say this is not exactly literal civilization, but there's also the difference between that and then like the genocide that the conquistadors brought, and like the way they desecrated Tenochtitlan and like covered it up. It's a whole issue.
And I mean, even if you look at the context of the Aztecs like conquest, the conquistadors literally just conscripted a bunch of native tribes to do that for them. Yeah. Which is, it's like, so you have this very nuance between like, we love to just be like, oh, it's like, all of like Europe is at fault for like
the rest of the world,
all of the native, but it's also just like, well, why were other native tribes fighting the Aztecs?
Yeah,
it's more nuanced because like different people have different cultures, and that's an interesting thing. I mean, like even the Germanic tribes over in Europe had their own like they were fighting each other while fighting the Romans.
Yeah.
While the Romans were conquering them. And so you have this giant nuance of history of like this like it's like you have like one tribe would join the Romans, and then they're just like, yeah, well, now I'm superior to my neighbor tribe, and it's like, it's literally this. You've been the same for the past like 1,000 years.
Yeah,
what are we doing here?
Yeah, you see a lot of like nuance. I'm not gonna say that's the most complex thing in the world. There's a very fine line between the groups that you could call good and bad in the story, but within each one, you can see why they are the way that they are, and still what are they doing that contradicts sometimes their like supposed moral principles and pillars. Like I think that's something that's very interesting that I think people should be exposed to a lot more through like coming of age stories like these. The fact that the world isn't like black and white.
It's not polarized. Yeah. I mean, even depending on which group you ask. Yeah. I mean, I bring up Lord of the Rings, but that's probably a bad example because like the orcs are literally just they're meant to be evil.
Yeah,
they're meant to be the evil scum that are just like supposed to be killed. I know it's like a weird thing to say, but like
no, yeah,
that's what they are. Let's be real. Like,
yeah, that makes sense. That's kind of. I don't know if that's what Tolkien intended, but he probably has like God knows how many essays about the meaning behind them.
There's so many allegories for every little thing within it, and it's so complex. But like, that's not like a real like you. It's a very interesting example is like Genghis Khan.
Yeah,
where it's like you look at his empire and like so much evil. I say evil, but like a lot of the like very terrible stuff that he did, his empire was actually like very well. I mean, it's a weird thing to say. Like he did a lot of evil, but like if you were in the middle of Mongolia,
yeah,
you're fine. You're all right.
You see, you definitely see a lot of like, especially how the main story. I don't want to drop this. I want the readers to experience this. There is a war. The main characters are soldiers, but you see how each side frames themselves as good while still committing atrocities. But then you see why they do that, and then it's like a whole back and forth thing. Yeah.
I mean, a weird example is the Crusades.
I mean,
we're like,
I don't know. If
I'll say the early Crusades. I'll say the early Crusades. A lot of the later Crusades was just like,
I don't know.
It's like the first couple where it's like, especially the first one where it's like the Roman empires are like, one's calling the other for help. And you're like, I can't be mad at Byzantium for asking for pleading for help while their culture is being smothered. Like most cultures literally do the same thing all the time. That's how World War I started.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's also just like the way it devolves so quick is very interesting. But like, there's very tough calls in war.
Yeah, you see that a lot. Go ahead.
What is his name? It's a famous story during the Crusades. It's one of the kings. The premise of it, I call it a story. It's just history. But like, he had like way too many prisoners of war than he could like deal with. Yeah. And he had it. So his choices are cool. I can release them and like basically have like 1,000 people behind me that are going to arm themselves and fight me from behind while I fight the army from the front. I can't house them. I can't feed them. I can't properly guard them. Or the unfortunate reality of I have to kill them because I don't have the opportunity. I don't have the resources to take care of them properly. And I can't just give the enemy 4,000 troops or whatever it is.
I love how this started as like a thing about Pray for the Wicked, like what it's about. And then it's just evolved into like just straight nerd, like nerding out.
It's a genuine part of world building.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. I'm just pointing out, like, I love this, but yeah,
I think that's something that like a lot of modern stories lack, where their hero's just a Mary Sue. It's where it's like, cool, I'm perfect, I can do no wrong, and it's like, I think one of the greatest things you can do for a character is make them make a tough call. And it have to be unfortunately bad.
Oh yeah, that happens. A few times you see characters haunted by the things that they've had to do, and also, people realize that this one might be no, it's actually not that big of a spoiler. Like they realize they were in the wrong the whole time, and now like it's come back to bite them in the bum. Like you definitely see a lot of that. Again, though. The thing that I genuinely can't emphasize this enough is that this isn't just another like morally gray Game of Thrones style thing.
Yeah, you're like, who exactly is the hero? You want a hero.
I would say a little closer to Lord of the Rings, but my main goal, again, this should be something that a young man can relate to and look back to as they're facing the challenges of growing up and as they're looking for like, what do I need to do? Sometimes the unfortunate reality is that, and the main character faces a lot, is just stepping up, facing the challenge head on.
Yeah, because that's like, I mean, you mentioned the like Western and Eastern Roman empires.
Yeah.
That was like a genuine thing with, I want to say it was Constantine the First, where he literally was, he waited so long to be baptized because he knew what it took to be a leader and all the slimy, evil things you have to do to be an emperor. And then eventually they were like, you should probably get baptized because you're going to die in a war, dude. And he was like, yeah, you're right. He did. So, did he? I don't remember. But I'm pretty sure he was killed. That wouldn't surprise me. But like it's like the unfortunate reality that if you're a soldier or worse in a position of power, you're going to have to make.
Yeah.
It's like you're going to have to do a bunch of probably questionable things. And I think that's a very powerful thing to do too.
Yeah. I especially tried to frame
it's gonna haunt me.
The leaders, like the head politicians of the different like nations and whatnot. I tried to frame some of them as like, virtuous characters, people that, are honest, or meanwhile there are other ones that are sly and ones that like know that they're going like not behind their own back, but like they're going back on their own words. I tried to show they're not perfect, but some of them are more virtuous than others, and
or it's even in imperfection, you can let virtue rise.
Yes, that's another one of the big themes, like self-forgiveness. One of the main characters, his whole arc almost is about that because of something that haunts him, and it's about learning that like if you step up and take ownership of the mistake, then you can be redeemed for it and you can build something even better from it.
Yes. Teaching that redemption is an option is a very powerful message, especially in today's world where being real, that's not really a thing that happens much anymore.
Yeah.
Redemption is not, whenever you hear it, it's like,
it feels like a far off fantasy almost.
A lot. And I know some viewers are probably going to take that the wrong way, but it's just like the idea that like just because I'm wrong in the past does not mean I can't improve.
Yeah.
I think that's the sad reality of a lot of modern culture where
it doesn't show that.
Once evil, always evil. It's like, well.
Yeah. I mean, obviously in the story, there is like a clear there's a clear distinction between a good person who did something wrong versus a bad person who knows what they did was wrong and won't try to fix
evil. Yeah.
But there is like, I do try to show that like you can still like build.
Don't let your evil actions define
not even
you.
Evil, just faults or
your improper actions define you.
Sure.
Learn from them, grow from them. That's the point of mistakes.
Yeah. But like all of these, like they would sound kind of basic, almost in like a top life lessons for young men class. But like I wanted to try to present them in a way that felt it was not the freshest thing in the world, considering how many comparisons we've been able to make. But in a way that I would feel, at least as a kid, would be enticing enough that I'm sort of like fed them along with the crazy world building and adventure of this like wild, like prehistoric, magical, high fantasy setting.
And I mean, that's actually also like an interesting thing, because certain actions within certain tools actually was like, there were real limiters, like social, like the most famous example I can think of is unironically the crossbow, and how frowned upon it was whenever it was used in Europe, because it was such an effective way of killing, which is so funny that that's not really a thing anymore, because we just have like a LMG that could just like mow down 40 people, and you're like, use it in war. Well, figure out how to mass produce it. But like in that time, like a crossbow was not a major thing that was used for war because of like, it's like this is too efficient. But like in a world with giant monsters,
you'll see like
would that be a thing? Would that be a limiter?
Yeah, you'll see like rather than like the trebuchets that you'd normally see mounted on like castle or city walls, you'll mostly see like ballistas, or I call them spike launchers, because in reality, it's like a ballista made to launch a spike. Especially like along the fringes of the wilds. But you do see a lot of just like how this world has affected its people. And honestly, the best comparison I could give for like the visuals wouldn't be like Game of Thrones. It would be more so like the 1980s film Excalibur, or the art by Ted Nasmith that he did for George R.R. Martin. Like a lot more colorful and like stylish, essentially.
Because also it's like that's like another weird thing that we get wrong about the Middle Ages, that everything was like
drab,
gray and dull. And it's like, actually,
things were
kind of the opposite. We love
really colorful. Like in the context of like these like small band of guerrilla fighters, which is what the main characters are, like it would make sense for them to be wearing like drab browns and stuff. But like on large battlefields, you'll see like I don't know vast waves of color, but you'll see like noticeable differences of like, because you got to know whose side you're on, straight up. And like I also up with the idea of like what different symbols I could use, like heraldry, like especially tyrannosaurs as a group. So like the more gracile ones, the bigger like bone crusher ones, you see how people use them as like symbols of power, or other groups of animals, really, and not just prehistoric ones, but also just bulls, bears, lions, like the whole lot.
Like, I mean, you like in the real world, we use lions as a show of like pride and high class and honor and like, I was going to say loneliness, but that's not even I don't even know why that word popped in my mind.
Like stoicism?
I'm probably thinking of the like idea of like kind of like leading by
example, like leadership, essentially,
by like honor. But like that's going to be a lonely route, so I guess that's like some weird
like stoicism, essentially. Yeah.
So like you have these examples like the eagle, and especially in like Constantinople, the double-headed eagle, where it actually like every minute thing.
Like wasn't that Rome that had that? Like the SPQR, or
Rome's they both had eagles.
Yeah,
but Constantinople famously had the double-headed eagle.
Yeah.
The Byzantium Empire had that, where it's the church and the empire and the kingdom.
Yeah.
But I mean, every little thing has like meaning, and that's an interesting thing that we don't really like. Don't have anymore.
Yeah, it's now everything is like light bulbs or a sunrise, and all of it's like just it's abstract and modernistic.
It's such like a duh meaning, or it's like we have the light bulb, we're the thinker squad, and it's like
like
I don't know, man, that's pretty lame, dude.
This isn't a spoiler, but like one of the sigils that you see is like the vague image of like the silhouette of a Tyrannosaurus biting down on a hammer, and it's supposed to be the metaphor of like forging your own path to greatness or to success. Like that's the kind of stuff that I'd love to see, like a world with color, with style. And like I hope what readers can take away from that will be the different like little themes and allegories of like forge your own path to power, the things that temptation and indulgence can lead you to, like the fact that the world will constantly try to throw it at you in ways that are alluring, scary, and like contrasting that with more virtuous parts of life, like a love of the natural world, a love of family, and not just like blood family, but also like family, like your friends. And like you see the stark contrast there. And what I want people to walk away with essentially is like growing up ain't gonna be easy, not by a long shot.
And I mean,
but it's doable. And especially if you can treat it as an adventure, then I think you're more than set.
Like, I think one of the biggest messages that we like needs to be taught more is that like imagery is like there's power in deep imagery.
Yeah, 100%.
So I mean, like we lose in the modern age. We have become so like hyper focused on such minuscule things, and I know that's a weird way of putting that we lose a lot of the time. We lose sight of the bigger image.
Like you mean that like we like to make things so simplistic, versus like like have you ever seen like old cities like especially some places in like Spain or I use Dubrovnik as an example because like it was literally one of the filming sets for Game of Thrones, but like ordinary places still felt like they should be sacred almost because people had a love for their craft.
Well, I mean, like, you think about how deep of history, like, that's kind of one of the reasons I like, I don't want to say I envy Europe, but like, that's one of the things I do envy about like
those parts of the world where you see
it's you have a lot more, and I'm not saying that doesn't exist in like North and South America, but like you have such a full history that's like easily on display, because over here it's not as easily on display. It's a lot more difficult, but like if you can just like live in Paris, and that's like it was such a weird thought that it's like cool. I'm gonna live in this town that has like thousands of years of history behind it, and I can just go outside and like point at a brick, and it's like, oh yeah, that was the brick that was used to stone King Louis, and you're like, they just like have things like that.
Was that actual thing?
No, but
that's an example. Okay, I was about to say like what?
Rome is a beautiful example. It's like a McDonald's, and then there's literally the inside is like has like a walled off section because it's an old Roman wall, and
or in Egypt, there's like a meme that's like, oh no, yeah, people in movies will be like lost in the desert with the pyramids. You turn around, there's a Pizza Hut.
It's just like a city like right there, and it's like
it's just like
how are you lost, you idiot? Turn around.
It's that's what
and that is it's like one of my favorite images is it's a building in Constantinople where you have like the original Romans. Like part of it is like the original Roman architecture. Then you have like actual Constantinople architecture. Then you have the like Ottoman architecture. Then you have like more like classical architecture on top of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, look at these like 5 lineages literally stacked on top of each other. You can look at it and visually tell the difference with it. And I feel like that's like a lot of people will just look and they're like, oh, pretty building. But it's like stopping and thinking about how it's like this literally shows the rise and fall of
entire like lifetimes,
of like multiple generations. Like it's such a everything is like so high paced nowadays. Yeah, we should go back to horse and buggy. I'm kidding. Cars are a modern luxury. But I guess wrapping up here, do you have any final things you'd like to?
Not really. Just that you're probably seeing this because I've linked it to the article on my Substack newsletter. If you haven't subscribed to it, it's free. I promise you. You just put in your email and then you get weekly articles every Friday. They drop in the morning. You can read them like a newspaper. Completely human made, zero AI, and it talks about creativity, about what you can expect from this story, and obviously we have fun with stuff like topics like history and paleontology, and like we just have a vibe. And then also it's also linked in the articles, but my book Primordial Biology of Ancient Triumphs and Tragedies, God, that is a mouthful. Again, just history on Earth. Primordial. You can get it on Amazon, digital, hardcover, and paperback, and also my Instagram, where I'm going to be dropping a lot more like short form content, like little lore snippets, little stuff about the creative process. I'd recommend keeping up with this stuff because believe me, like it's about a kick in the high gear.
Well, I hope whenever if you have a idea of when you're going to properly release it, or is that still just like a too far out, not quite yet kind of thing?
It is way too far out. I especially don't want to Like I've made it a mission to myself because I had this problem a lot. Like I'll set a deadline for myself and then I find I can't hit it and then I get super stressed and then like my whole life becomes a clutter. I've made it clear to myself that it'll be done when it's done. It'll be done when it is a good story.
If you rush it, it'll turn out bad.
Yeah. I want to release something that I can be proud of. So no release date planned yet, but in the meantime, there will be plenty of content about the creative process. And you can rest assured it is still being worked on. It's not just like stagnant.
That is the important thing, that it's still being worked on.
Yeah.
But I hope you all enjoyed this episode. I'm your host, Eric Crawford. This has been the Prehistoric Life Podcast. And remember, keep it prehistoric. Goodbye.